The anatomy and physiology of a note. Every note has a note head. Some of the note heads are open, some of the note heads are closed. You may also from time to time hear them referred to as the black note heads and the white note heads, but we will most commonly refer to them as open and closed in this series. And here are some examples of some open note heads and closed note heads. Most notes also have stems. The stem is attached to the note head and can go up or it can go down depending on where in the staff the note head is placed. Chaff, can you explain a little bit about the direction of the stems and which ones go up and which ones go down?
Sure. As the notes climb through the staff, when they cross the middle line, the third line of the staff, the stems will change direction, meaning below the middle of the staff, the stems will go up, and above the middle of the staff, the stems will go down. Now notice, and this is an important thing to make sure people know that you are an educated musician, make sure the stems are on the right side of the note head. For instance, you can see here that below the center of the staff, when the stems are pointing up, they go to the right side of the note head. And when they cross that center line and they go up to the third space, now they're going to point down and they'll be on the left side of the note head. I should also point out the middle of the staff, the third line, we treat that as if it's below the middle of the staff.
Yes, there are cases, however, where the stems on the middle line can go up or down. So for instance, if all the notes around that note on the middle line, if the stems are going up, then that too will go up. If all the notes around that middle line, notes on that middle line are going down, stems down, the note on that middle line will also go down.
And if you have, say, two notes beamed together, one is below and one is above, then you just need to make a judgment call on which one looks the best on the page.
That's a good transition to our next term, which is flags. So some notes have flags attached to their stems. Here are two notes with a single flag. Here are two notes with double flags, and here are two notes with triple flags. So this illustrates the correct placement of the flags on up stems and down stems. So Chaff, can you explain also about the correct side of the stem to write the flag?
Yeah, they're always on the right, as if the note is running that way and it's dragging the flag behind it in the breeze.
Yes, always. And Mr. Wheat mentioned beams previously, just a moment ago. So I'm going to talk about beams now. So in some cases, when two or more flagged notes are next to each other, the flags can be replaced by beams. So one beam essentially is equivalent to one flag. Two beams are equivalent to two flags, etc. And in certain circumstances, notes with different numbers of flags can be beamed together. For instance, here we have 1/8 note followed by two 16th notes. We can use different numbers of beams to beam that group of notes together.
Can I interrupt you here for just a second?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so when you're counting beams, it doesn't matter which side of the stem the beam is touching, it still counts as a flag. So a beam might be touching the left side of the stem, might be touching the right side of the stem, or it might be going all the way through. If it touches that stem at all, it counts as an additional flag. So if there's one beam touching the left side of the stem and one beam going all the way across, you add up and you see that there are two beams touching the stem. Therefore, that counts as two flags, and that is a 16th note. Another point I'd like to make real quick is, here's the reason that we use beams instead of just, you might be asking, why don't we just use flags all the time? Well, if you have a string of notes that looks like this, it's really difficult to read because there are no beams there, they're not grouped in any way, they all look the same, and if you're scanning across as you're sight reading, this is going to be a very confusing line to read. However, if we add in some beams to group them within each beat of the time signature, then you're going to see that this becomes much more easily read for the reader.
Yes, and we will get into that in much more detail in a later lesson on rhythm and duration. So be looking out for that. But for now, for this video, I think the important terms to remember are note head, both open and closed, stems, flags, and beams.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay. See you next time, everybody.